Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today, I'm not taking a look at one Jet Provost, I'm actually taking a look at two Jet Provosts. So join me on the workbench as I explore both of these kits from Airfix. So I thought I would do both of these simultaneously because they are going to be effectively the same kit, just with different paint schemes. It is my recollection that this is the older one, so Airfix have slightly changed their boxings in recent years. So it was primarily, with a red band around the outside, and now they've gone to like full artwork and then just the red bar at the bottom. So we'll take a quick look at this one first on the outside. So on this one you can see that we have got an aircraft sort of climbing with his wingman just off to the side, and down here on the bottom left it shows us that there are two paint schemes included. We have an item code for this variant, which is the A02107 for a Hunting Percival Jet Provost T.4. The other version has a T.3/T.4. On this edge here, it tells us that we have some dimensions and a width, and that there are 45 parts included. I am going to just bring the other one over and do the same thing. We have a item code for the more modern or more recent version, which is A02103 Alpha, and this is for T3 and T4. So we'll do a comparison side by side. So the more recent release has two paint schemes, one which has a Jet Provost T.3 from RAF Dishfuff and was flown by Flight Lieutenant Julie Ann Gibson, who is the first female RAF pilot. Or we have another version here from RAF Cranwell in 1962. This version down here has, these are both Chivner aircraft and from the Tactical Weapons Unit, but one is older than the other. This one with camouflage is from 1982, whereas the all grey is from 1989. You'll notice that we have the exact same number of pieces and the dimensions are the same as well because they're the same kits. Umbral paint colour callouts are listed here. Both kits also have 1 flying hour. These are coupons, cut them out, keep them. If you're in the club, you can redeem them against more kits. If not, do still cut them out and send them to Models for Heroes, who can redeem them for their charitable work. Skill level of 1, I have built the Jet Provost in the past in a different paint scheme, and it is a fairly easy kit to build, but the paint schemes might push it up to being a little bit more complicated. On this edge down here, you can see we have sort of safety warning information. Both boxes have cartograph logos, which tells us that they're going to have cartograph decals inside, which are pretty good. Usually really good quality decals. I don't have any problem with those. And then we have tooling and release information. So they both say that the tooling was designed in 2016, but the version I have at the top, this one here in the older style box, was a release from 2018, whereas this one down here was a release from 2024. So I actually bought this one, and I think when I bought this one I got it in a mystery bundle, so I didn't know I was going to get it. The thin edges just feature the same information that we've already seen to help you identify it on the shelf. Let's get these boxes open and see what we have. Let's try and make sure that we don't mix anything up. So I'm not really sure I'm going to do this. Maybe I'll do like one on one side, one on the other. I haven't got much space here to work with, unfortunately. What I think I'll do is I'll look through the older instructions first and then quickly scan through the other one and see what the differences are. So construction wise, we need to build up our cockpit parts and glue our seat parts together. We do have the option to include crew if we would prefer. Add those parts into the cockpit. There is a decal for the control panel. Paint those various elements. Add 2.5 grams into the nose so it doesn't sit on its tail, but if I remember correctly, you can display this with the landing gear raised. We can add our tail surfaces, add our wings. They do make reference to the display stand that they used to sell, but I've not seen that one in a very long time. Add our upper wing surfaces, air intakes go in, and then we have our nose gear. Nose gear can be displayed either in the lowered position or raised. If we're doing main landing gear, again it's the same kind of deal. We can do lowered or raised, which is pretty good. And then clear parts. Clear parts can be in a open or closed position depending on your preference. And that's it, pretty much. Pretty simple, not overly complicated, which brings us on to the painting schemes. So this one we have Scheme A, which is generally an overall grey. It's a medium sea grey on the top and a camouflage grey underneath. and with yellow elements as well. Some of these are done by the Decals, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Probably the simpler of the two paint schemes, but you can see there's an awful lot of stencils and things, and also we have some notes here about you could technically display this one as an aircraft in 1988 in a different RAF base. So actually you're technically getting 3 paint schemes out of this one. If we turn to this page here, we're onto the more complicated scheme, which has the camouflage version, which is kind of the version I wanted to do, because I think it will be interesting to do a trainer aircraft in a camouflage scheme. And it's pretty much the same kind of deal. Quite a few stencils again. Maybe not, I mean, it's a similar amount. You know, this one just seemed to have more stencils on it, whereas this one seemed to have a little bit less. So maybe there's just slightly fewer on that one. So that's the instructions for that kit. I'm just going to quickly scan over the instructions for the more recent boxing and see if they are any different. Right. See if we can spot anything different. So this is the same by the looks of it, 2.5 grams in the nose as before. They still make reference to the display stand, which we've not seen. Everything here seems to be the same, raised or lowered, and the canopy options are the same as well. So the other version has our RAF Dishforth aircraft from 1990, which is a grey, white and red aircraft, which is maybe a little bit more complicated to paint compared to the other grey aircraft we saw in the other boxing, but there are some research notes as well. And then we have a RAF Cranwell version, which it might be a little bit more complicated to paint as well, because you've got different elements which are painted in different colours. But I was going to say there doesn't appear to be as many stencils, but actually this boxing comes with extra stencil sheet. So they've gone, yeah, do you know what? Maybe the instructions were a bit cluttered, so I'll put them on an extra sheet. So let's put them to one side. Instructions seem to be pretty good. So the decals then. This is for the new version on the left, and this is for the slightly older version on the right. So newer on the left, older on the right. You can see there's a slight difference in the colour of the backing paper. They are both made by Cartograph, and they do appear to be very nicely reproduced. Both sheets look really nice. You can see on this one we have some of those elements of that band work, which is picked out for us, so we don't have to paint it, but the other bits we are going to have to. We have our registration letters are pretty nicely done. The printing on this is really nice. Like even the little insignia down here, they've done a really good job at that. These decals look lovely. Registration is good, no cracks, no blemishes, despite the fact these are slightly older. Yeah, they're really nice. This one then, same kind of deal. Maybe a little bit more spaced out than the other sheet. In this one, it appears that we have more common decals. In this one, it looked like the only common ones was like the control panel, whereas everything here is 79 Squadron. So it must, yeah, just down to sort of the paint scheme. So if you wanted to get another set of sprues, perhaps, you might need to get extra decals, because these ones will not be available, whereas the other one you can kind of do both. But yeah, these are printed to a really nice quality as well. Again, registration is pretty much spot on. Smaller text is still quite legible. Yeah, they did a good job printing them. Yeah, very nice. Cool. So let's make sure they go into the correct boxes. And then we have the plastic parts, which should be the same, although there is one difference I think you can see straight off the bat. And that is because of the age of the manufacture, the newer one on my left is a different colour. So Airfix swapped to a darker shade, a slightly different blend a few years ago. I don't think it was as early as 2020, but definitely at some point around then. So we have, I'm going to put them to one side and put them to one side, clear parts. So clear parts should be the same. There should be no differences at all in the plastic parts in this kit. So that's that one. And this is the other one. I mean, it doesn't really matter if I mix anything up, because technically they're the exact same kit. So plastic, clear parts then. Clear parts. Let's make sure they're the same way around. There we go. So In my right hand is the slightly older one. In my left hand is the slightly newer one. There is a slight scuff on the older one, just here on this part, which is a little bit of a shame. There is a tiny little bit of flash on there as well, which actually the new one doesn't have. I would say that the newer sprue actually looks ever so slightly better than the older one, which is a little bit counterintuitive, because you would think that the older one would be better because it would have had less production runs through it. The plastic on this one just look a little bit more clear. The moulding though is pretty good for both of them. The canopy framework is fairly pronounced, so you could get that masked quite easily, but I know you can get aftermarket mask sets for that. So yeah, clear parts are pretty decent. Maybe the older one isn't quite as nice as the newer one. I mean, basically they should be the same, but yeah, that's interesting. So let's put them in their respective places, and then we're on to our actual plastic parts of our main aircraft. So we have 3 sprues in the older boxing, which are in a light grey plastic. We should have 3 sprues in a darker grey plastic for the more recent boxing. Let's just do a side-by-side comparison of each sprue as we go. So we have our upper wing components here, and other than the shade of plastic, they look pretty much identical. I can't see any differences. There's no flash, not really. Other sides, like even sort of the scuffs on the inside from the tooling are exactly the same. The plastic on the light grey feels reasonably dense, not much flex to it, not particularly greasy. The plastic on this one, pretty much the same, maybe a little bit more dense, but not as greasy as I've had from Airfix either, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so those two, okay. Then we have our fuselage sprues. So we have recessed panel lines, reasonably nice moulded details. I quite like the darker plastic because it shows up the details a little bit better, especially on camera. However, in comparison to the other one, there is a bit more flash on this part here. This is our tail surface, sort of our exhaust area. There is a bit more flash on this one, so maybe the pressure is slightly higher when they mould these, and it's forced its way out between the 2 mould halves. It's not terrible, I can clean that up, but if you compare that to the other component, it's just a little bit more noticeable, isn't it? On the whole though, moulding quality is pretty good. There's not much else in the way of flash. Ejector pin marks are primarily on this side, and if I remember correctly, most of them are hidden. There is some detail inside of the cockpit areas as well, which is nice to see, but not a great deal. But yeah, for the most part, pretty good, pretty much the same. There we go, so we've got our 2 wing halves here, and again, the level of detail seems pretty good. The pilots in these kits, they're okay. They look a little bit as if the details are a little bit worn, perhaps, on the pilots. They're usable. They'll be perfectly fine to use, but maybe they're just not quite up to the best standard that Airfix have used. The surface details on here, though, are really nice. Not as deep in the panel line department as they've had in other kits. They definitely took on board some of that criticism in the earlier days, back in the early 2010s. Only a tiny little bit of flash in a few places on the dark grey sprue, but I can't really see anything on the light grey. Flipping over internally, there is a little bit of discoloration in a few places on this one, probably from the moulding process, but that shouldn't detract from the build. And the other sprue here in the dark grey, that's fine. I did have a problem with a short shot on one of these examples that I built in the past. I believe there may have been may have been a problem with the chairs, but I can't spot anything on the chairs here that would indicate a short shot. So a short shot is where it basically the plastic hasn't filled the mold. I think it was on the wings actually. So like on the edge of the wing here, it hadn't fully molded, but actually you can see that these are completely molded on both examples, which is fine. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. These kits are effectively identical, other than the plastic has changed in the newer boxing. Perhaps there is ever so slightly a bit of flash in a few places that need cleaning up, but it still looks pretty decent. The clear parts are good too. Interestingly, I thought that the newer version had slightly better clear parts, which is interesting because you think the older boxing would have slightly better due to less production runs, but they're still perfectly fine. The decals are both printed to a lovely quality from Cartograph. Slightly different colour backing sheets, but I guess they changed to this colour more recently. This version looks like you might be able to build 2 aircraft, and that's exactly what I've done actually. I've gone and got another version of the kit. So I've already done this version, which is the gift set version. I did it as a starter set a while back. It's the same plastic inside, it's just all red all over. I have already done one. There will be a build video for it somewhere on my channel, but my thought process was that I would use the sprues from this to replicate one of the other paint schemes. I don't think I can do the other one from this because they've got common decals, but actually, if I think about it, these have got roundels and stuff in, so I might be able to take the roundels from this and use them on that one. So actually, I might need to get another sprue, another one of these. So these are usually on sale in discount supermarkets for about £6 or £7. Seven or 8 maybe. So I might, if they come out again, get another one and then do all 4 like in one go. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah, so instructions were up to a good standard. Painting instructions were in full color, which is what we like to see. I really want to do this camouflage one, but you know, if I get another set of sprues, I will do all of them if I can. Yeah, let's make sure that I put all the things back in the right boxes. I'll just do that off camera in a minute. So both of these have quite nice artwork. I quite like the artwork on these. Maybe this one looks a little bit more exciting because you've got the aircraft, you know, performing maneuvers together, but they've sort of got the same kind of orientation for the different poses, but just in the opposite direction. We already talked about the age. So 2016 was when the first release of this kit came out. It was in a different paint scheme, which I've not yet done. So actually, with these 2 versions, that effectively means I'm only missing one boxing, and I would have done all of them from Airfix when I eventually get around to doing them. Price-wise, as I mentioned earlier, I think I got this one as part of a mystery bundle from Airfix. So when you buy something on their website, you throw in a mystery kit for like a tenner, and this was what I got. If you wanted to get this one individually, it would be retailing for £11.99, which I don't think is too bad of a price given the amount of plastic that we had inside of the kit, the options to have canopy open, landing gear raised or lowered, and there's crew figures, not to mention you get the choice between 2 different paint schemes. I think that's a fairly reasonable price. I don't recall the RRP for this one when I bought it. Granted, this was a product which would have been out around 2018, so a few years ago, but it must have been on sale because I bought it in the Works. So the Works is a discount bookshop here in the UK. It does like arts and crafts stuff. And in the past, Airfix used to send surplus stock to them. So you can see that originally the RRP was £9.99. So over time, the prices have crept up ever so slightly. But I was fortunate enough to pay £9 for this one, which is an even better value. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Granted, prices have crept up with this one, but I still think given current pricings, it's still reasonable. And I think with that, I'm going to call this one here. So let me know down in the comments what you thought of my almost comparison unboxing review of these 2 kits and whether my assessment of them was fair. Don't forget that we do have a Model Minutes Model Club, and if you'd like to join the Model Club and get exclusive access to early videos and other perks, check out the links in the description. Massive thanks to these guys on screen for the extra support they give me, allowing me to create consistent content. There are other ways to help support the channel if you'd prefer, and again, full information is below the video. But the best way to support the channel for free is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling video. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thanks to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.